A grave, a crude image, familiar marks on a bow or an axe suddenly change our thoughts. Our native air, the garden of our early childhood and our first games, our father's house, the streets of the town and the good women in the market, all these familiar things do much more than simply evoke memories, regrets, and affections. They dispose the body according to a childish trust that has long been forgotten. It is a sweetness and a grace that we feel and touch. Bitter passions are immediately released. It is the hour of hopes and vows. It is a return of strength and youth. Thus our naive ancestors, touched by the beauty of things, worshipped an invisible presence. At first, familiar dead, then illustrious dead, as the living gathered together to experience these delicious emotions again, and much more strongly. The temples, by their mass, their echo, and their accumulated memories, magnified the god. The repetition of the ceremonies, the stories that were told of them, the songs and dances carried aesthetic feelings to a kind of frenzy. The unfortunate were consoled. Soon they were consoled in hope, and, by prayer, they evoked the assembly in solitude. That is why it should not be said that temples were first erected in honor of the gods, but there were monuments, larger and more solid houses, relics of man, stones and knots of wood in his likeness, soon sculpted by the testimony of hands. The god came to inhabit the idol and the temple. The first reflection was on this great and mysterious subject. One believed easily and even fervently in anything that aimed, however poorly, to explain the most amazing happiness. The miracle was thus the first proof. One must admire how the wisest, always brought back to the positive by the practice of trades, managed to put a little order and reason into theological inventions. It is true that wars formed great political units, and that peace had to be established among the gods as well. The kinship of the gods, and patriarchal power transported to Olympus, were inventions comparable to those of Copernicus and Newton. The theogonies, which we want to laugh at, marked an immense progress of common reason. Wisdom, daughter of beauty, found refuge with the gods, and philosophers began to reflect in turn on popular myths, already suspecting that the just man dictated his laws to Jupiter. According to this, we must consider Catholicism as a decisive progress, even in the intellectual order, since by decreeing one God and one law for all men, it reduced the other gods to the state of subordinate powers, and always tended energetically to purify miracles by bringing them back to the human heart, which is the true place of miracles. It is clear that this new object had to be subjected to reflection and criticism again, and that the metaphysical God, who no longer intervenes except according to the immutable laws of wisdom, had to gather all human hope in his idea. For a short time, for the progress of the sciences, itself born of this long movement of reflection, was already touching, with Descartes, on that moment of the mind when the imagination, with its retinue of gods, is finally lodged in the human body. Prometheus now knows the secret of the gods.